People ask me all the time about what I believe, and of course that's what I'm trying to explain while I'm talking. And many people, of course, are skeptical about the idea of anything transcendent and say transcendent and eternal. But that can also be addressed from a psychological perspective, because I would say, well, if you have an ideal of any sort, how is that not transcendent? It transcends you. That's the first thing. And it doesn't exist in reality. It exists in a place of possibility. And believe me, man, we treat places of possibility as if they're real, because people will call on you, you know, about your possibility and your potential. They'll say to you, you're not manifesting your full potential. And you might say, well, what do you mean by that? Potential. It doesn't exist. It isn't here now. You can't measure it or weigh it. You can't get a grip on it. And they'll say, don't rationalize. You know perfectly well what I mean when I'm talking about your potential. And so and you do, and everyone does, and everyone knows exactly what that means. And so that's a metaphysical reality that we'll immediately accept as real and also castigate ourselves for not fulfilling, and others too, because you're just not happy when the people around you, especially if you love them, don't fulfill their potential. You really feel that something has gone wrong. And so there's a transcendent reality and potential. And then when you hypothesize an ideal that you might pursue, which you always do if you pursue anything, right? Because to pursue something means you don't already have it. You're pursuing something that doesn't exist. You're probably not pursuing something that's worse than what you already have, because why the hell would you pursue it, right? That's completely counterproductive. So in the mere fact of your pursuit, you posit a transcendent reality that you can journey towards, that's more valuable than the reality that you have now, that's predicated in some sense on something like an eternal verity or an eternal truth. It partakes in the ideal. And so we have a relationship with the transcendent. And you might say, well, that doesn't mean you have to personify the transcendent, say as Jehovah, you know, the God the Father. But there's also some damn good reasons for doing that, because one of the things that I've realized thinking through this covenant idea and also the sacrifice idea is that the idea that the future is a judgmental father is a really, really good idea. You know, because you think about what the future is in part. I mean, the future is however the natural world is going to lay itself out over the next endless amount of time. That isn't what I mean. I think more about your future. Now, mostly your future is the future that you're going to negotiate with other people, but there are going to be other people in the future, and some of those people are going to be you in the future and family members in the future. And so what's happening right now is that if you make the sacrifices properly, then you're actually pleasing that future set of people, and that future set of people is definitely going to serve as a judge. It's exactly what it does. That's precisely what it does. And so you might say, well, it was the brilliant imagination of mankind that hypothesized that the best way to think about the social group, including the family, but also including you as your future self, was to consider that you live in relationship with a future father who's a judge. It's like, yes, that's exactly right. Now, is it right, or is it psychologically right? Well, it's at least psychologically right. And, you know, one of the things I've learned about the biblical stories is that to say that they're psychologically right doesn't exhaust the ways in which they're right. But it at least gives rational modern people who are skeptical, and properly so, a better way of getting a grip on them.